face of innovation, that's where you need courageous people, you need courageous leadership, and people who are willing to dive so deep into this for the movement and propelling of our society forward.
We talk about this stuff, you're talking about the people coming in and doing, and you're talking about those individuals that are going to be required to have that innovation, and there's a fear associated to that. And when you see that fear, that can be a real detriment into innovation. It can be stifling and a full stop, where if they don't have that ability, that freedom to fail, and fail often, to learn and iterate and move forward. Like, how are you seeing that in the spaces that you're in the more traditional spaces? And it's not just one industry, there's many. Do you see evolution in that from that perspective?
That's a great question, Robbie. My thought is the world is so different now in that technology is just everywhere and it's so in your face. You go to a Starbucks. Sometimes you see a line, usually there's a line, but there's a lot of people actually that just roll in with their app.
Yep.
And then they just pick up.
Yes.
Okay. Are those just millennials?
Good question.
They're not.
No, not at all.
They're not at all.
It's every generation.
It's more Andre's
100%.
generation.
Yeah.
It is more.
Because, it's convenient,
Oh,
but also you get the stars.
Yeah.
Gamified.
Right?
Uber, right? Who uses Uber? Not just the millennials.
Yeah.
It's
Everyone.
everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody uses Uber.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether it be our generation, generations before us, generations after us, everybody has technology in their face. And that is a fundamental difference. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. It's in your personal life and it's at work. So when you ask that question of are organizations shifting their mentality and creating an environment where you can be innovative, where you can focus on technology and think about how technology can elevate, augment, whatever it is. The answer, for the most part, from what I've seen, is absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Because they recognize, organizations, boards, executives recognize that if you don't grow in this day and age, you're not going to exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Overnight, Uber has taken over the taxi industry around the world.
Yeah.
Right? And so you don't want that story to be the story of your own business.
Yeah.
And I think everybody really recognizes that. And so definitely the conversations are happening.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge is you can see you need to do something about it. How do you go do it?
Yep.
And for a lot of organizations, just by the way they are structured, and it's no fault of anybody, it's just how they're structured. I believe to start that fire in the business, you need heroes. You need heroes.
There you go.
And it's not one person, maybe it starts with one, maybe it's a couple, but you need people with those characteristics that we talked about.
Yeah.
The courage to take on something that's new, the thoughtfulness to understand a gap, and the resilience to take it on and to work through it, no matter how challenging it is, to get to an outcome. And that outcome might be an ultimate failure.
Yep.
But it's not about getting the great outcome at first. It's about creating hope
Yeah.
for a better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And as you get that, you get one person doing it, you get another person who augments it and makes it better, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you start on Earth, and then you get to Mars.
Yeah.
And so that's the big gap.
Yeah.
I think organizations want and see that and know where they need to go.
Yeah.
It's translating, how do we get to the how?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. I think a lot of people too, like you talked about that from a delivery standpoint. When you look at the people that are involved in that and the growth that happens through that journey, fundamentally changes everybody involved in it. You know, so you talk again about the way and the impact and the innovation that you have to think differently now. You
Yeah.
have to approach situations with a different mindset in order to solve a problem.
Yeah.
So you're constantly in a state of flux, and if you can embrace that uncertainty and enjoy the struggle and enjoy the journey, who you become at the other end of it is wildly different.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is
Oh,
an amazing segue. Okay, so you said
Thanks. I do it often.
started with him, by the way.
Okay. Way to go.
I love that. I love that, man. Goosebumps. So it's not about. I'm gonna quote you in a different way. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not, innovation is not about the outcome per se, but it's about creating hope. And then Robbie brings something very interesting, that the journey, and you also brought that up. So the question for both of you is that what can we share about innovation as a journey instead of a destination? Because what happens right now, and I'm putting myself now on the layman seat, which is I'm here and I work for a small local company that produces stamps.
It's very specific.
It's very specific. And stamps are still here, right? Some people still use stamps. So, and I'm thinking on that person's seat and say, yeah, I'm not in an innovative company. I'm not in an innovative industry. Innovation is not part of my life, right? And sometimes what happens is that people are so focused on the destination of innovation, instead of the journey. There's a journey here. And not get it. The failure is part of the journey.
Yeah.
You're gonna disruption is part of the journey. Uber didn't get it right when they put it out there. We're talking about years and years and years fighting the node in very traditional industry.
You know that's a really good example, and that brings up a really good point of don't force it. So I talked about getting pissed off. I have no qualms with stairs.
With stairs?
Right, steps.
Steps.
Right?
Steps.
Steps. Right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so, if that's what you're actually talking about, but don't go try and innovate on something that's just because it's in front of you,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's where we fall down is, well, make this table better. Well, does it need to be better? It's a great table.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
There are places where it will be so obvious
Yeah.
that you can make something better.
Yeah.
Well, start there.
Yeah.
Right? But somebody might come by and say, no, this table sucks. and they will innovate and make it better.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we should put ourselves on this
Like a forced path.
unrealistic
Yeah.
expectation that you will innovate in this space, because there might not be anything there yet. We might not be mature enough as an individual or as a society or as an organization to do that innovation in that one space.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you look around, there will be something that you can innovate on. Start there.
Yeah.
But the way I completely understand what you say, but the way you, and I'm coming back now to the story of your daughter. Okay, so first of all, we all agree that kids are way more innovative than us,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh, I agree.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
So the system, I'm not gonna go into that, but the system kind of tends to kill an innovative mindset
Yeah.
throughout the years. Okay, let me put it this way: the system has this ethereal thing, education plus. I'm not gonna go into that, but that's very interesting. So
yeah. Well, I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause.
Actually, if you want to go into that, let's go into that. I'm just saying that maybe you don't want to discuss that, but feel free.
Well, I think what kills innovation? It's not. I don't think it's any real corporate system. It's a combination of many things, and that's why I talk about that work and life thing. For innovation to happen, you need desire, you need time, you need capability, and you need resources, right? And so, what kills it sometimes is, let's say, the instance of work, right? What kills some innovation sometimes is, hey, I need to get home to pick up my kids at 4:00. I need to drop off my kids at 7:30 at school, which means that I've got maybe 9 hours, 10 hours to do everything that I need to do at work. And everything else in between there, I'm tired. And my time is where I want to spend my time is with my family.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, why does that kill innovation? Because you don't have time. The realities of life prohibit you to spend that energy because you might not have the energy, you might not have
Yep.
all the resources. Resources is not just money.
Resource time. That's the main resource.
It's the most important resource.
100%.
So that's what I'm talking about, Andre, when I talk about maturity. Maybe maturity is not the right word. The timing of the individual who wants to innovate, the organization, society, they need to line up in some way, shape, or form in order for it to happen. And going back to your question about how do you resource this up and how do executives or organizations make innovation happen, that's why I don't believe it's an innovation team. If you say you are in charge of innovation, great. What about the 95% of your company? They don't have good ideas?
Yeah.
And you're also saying those 5 people have the time, resources, mentally, physically to do that. And innovation's hard
Yeah.
because you're
Yes.
you're doing something new. It's
Yeah.
changing.
You're disrupting
Technology.
failure.
Yeah, you're
all
disrupting
of that is
Yeah,
included.
all of it. The
Yeah.
change management, getting the
change management, oh my
building
God.
something. It's
Yes.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. The marketing of it, the selling.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yes.
My goodness,
Yeah.
how do you have one team who can actually do that and do that effectively? And that's
Yeah.
why you see over and over again, innovation teams don't work.
Yeah.
Innovation frameworks probably work, but a dedicated innovation team doesn't work because that's, in my mind, a slap in the face to everybody else in the company.
That's an interesting
That's a
perspective.
very interesting perspective.
Like, as an entrepreneur, and I've started small ventures on my own as well, and it's hard. It's hard.
It's a great start. You just stop. Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Because you can have the greatest idea, you can go execute and be the best at what you do, but you also got to go receive. You got to do the HR, the
Right?
hiring.
Yes.
You got to do the BD and sales, and
You have to deliver consistently.
yeah, and then you got cash flow coming in,
Right? Yes.
or lack thereof,
Or
Yeah.
lack.
all right, and then real life hits, personal life hits. You got a mortgage, you got food, you got car payments, you got whatever it is. How complicated is that? So, and how tied are your hands? And when I think about that journey as an entrepreneur or a business leader, those are realities that we're faced with every single day. And so that's what I mean by innovation. Cycle, maturity, timing. Just because you believe you should innovate doesn't mean that you are in a good position to be able to innovate.